Tonight, the Varel's Bridge Society invites you to this induction. Throughout the next 15 minutes, you will receive a large amount of information pertaining to subjects on Nonchalance and Crystore. Allow Sister Rose of the Varel's Bridge Society to guide you through this. In Radiant Dictum. In late 2019, many across investigative and mystery YouTube became transfixed by the enigma of the new Nuology network. Advertised via flyers placed in various cities as a service that could map and visualize one's dreams and stream them over Twitch. People began to pick apart the mystery to discover it was a sort of alternate reality game. One in particular that seemed to reference back to the legendary experience that ran from 2008 to 2011 in San Francisco, known alternately as the Yuuyu Institute, Games of Nonchalance, or simply Elsewhere. As it turned out, it tied into a show called Dispatches from Elsewhere on AMC, a series highly influenced by the 2008 experience and particularly the 2013 Spencer McCall documentary based on it, The Institute. Now that both the show and the attached ARG are finished, it's time for the next chapter in Elsewhere. Yesterday, the sequel to The Institute was released, In Bright Axiom, following the rise and fall of the Latitude Society, the follow-up to the Yuuyu Institute. But this film has already been completed for some time and been well received at multiple film festivals, and is far from the only piece of nonchalant media currently out there. Enter Crystore. On May 4th, 2020, three of the big names in Everything Elsewhere, original creator Jeff Hull and pen and banjo directors Spencer McCall and Wiley Herman, did a stream of The Institute followed by a Q&A. At the very end of the session, they dropped the meaty little nugget that the stream had been sponsored by Crystore Inc. At first glance, Crystore may be a far cry from what people might have gotten used to from the show or 2013 documentary, veering confidently into full science fiction territory. While it is very much an Elsewhere-related piece of media, it ties into concepts introduced in The Latitude and the soon-to-be-released Grandview Boulevard, as well as the 2012 Wiley Herman short film called The Tolls. So let's start with The Tolls. The Tolls is a short movie that purports to be about one Wiley Herman's maternal grandparents, particularly revolving around an incident at the end of World War II where his grandmother, Navy nurse Sadie, had disappeared at sea, her vessel seemingly lost for good. Her lover, Corporal Wesley Morris, refused to give up on her, checking the radio every day. Having decided to take his life with his pistol if he didn't find her when the war ended, he very nearly resolved to carry through until something else happened. Wiley's experiences with his father, seen in the movie Grandview Boulevard, inspired him to engage in a more fantastical exploration of the something else his mother told him about. When we find out who Wiley's father is in a bit, it'll all start to make a bit more sense. Apparently, and not to run too much of the short film, which I recommend viewing for yourself, Wes came into contact with an experimental Nazi weapon which, aside from causing immense destruction in a several-mile radius, jaunted those in the eye of the storm into a parallel dimension. After several instances of this, and in the spirit of the zeitgeist of 2020, being bothered a lot by a Nazi, Wes returns to his home dimension, but not before running into a Sadie from an alternate timeline. The final shot of the film shows us the Golden Gate Bridge. This structure is going to be key to the rest of this introduction. And now, Crystore.
When you're lost, who do you want to find you? In what form does this creature manifest? And at what time in the night does he come for you? Every year, millions of hardworking Americans experience cosmic encounters with moderate to severe disorientation. Crystore can help. Crystore is a handheld calcite defibrillator capable of generating surges and binary distress signals throughout the Sigma Quadrant. Crystore is not for everyone. Some aquatic mammals have experienced dizziness and confusion while using Crystore. Side effects do include blood glow, tear mist, and purpling of the skin and eyes. Tell your doctor if you are pregnant and have not had intercourse within the past 18 months, or if you are nursing and have no children of your own. Crystore has not been approved for simians or micropachyderms. Ask your shaman if Crystore is right for you. Isn't it your turn to bear the crystal?
The Crystore website has an aesthetic reminiscent of websites of the early 2000s, which may be a throwback to a lot of early ARGs and some of the early Nonchalance content itself. Compared to the site for the tools, it seems perhaps a little odd. It also has the vibe of other unfiction-related websites, such as the Clarijo page, linked in with unedited footage for a bear. One of the things that may pop out at you is the inclusion of the Golden Gate Bridge next to the logo, which, depending on the time of viewing, may appear to be one of 3 or more colours. Now, we've already established that this introduces a lot of heavy sci-fi concepts to the Elsewhere universe, and that alternate universes or timelines are a thing. Crystore, as it happens, operates in 3 different timelines, referred to, for simplicity's sake, as bridges. Red Bridge, the one closest to our reality, where the Golden Gate Bridge is red, Green Bridge, where it's green, and Blue Bridge, where it's blue. Blue seems to be somewhat of an outlier, as Red and Green Bridge seem to be very similar, and again, we'll get to exactly why. Looking around on the site, we can see a page introducing us to the history of Crystore, which apparently began with Diana McNally McCall, who is presumably a relation of Spencer's. As we find here and through other sources of information, it seems the strange, witchy woman operated some sort of roadside attraction, one aspect of which involved using a crystal to measure people's nonchalance. One of the people who interacted with the crystal was Penelope Bright, then a young girl, who would go on to meet Peter Turciop while studying interspecies communication in Miami County, Indiana. This partnership would result in the Crystore of the 70s, that would evolve into the one we know today. Penelope currently appears to be the solutions manager for Greenbridge Crystore, and the main contributor to the blog on the Crystore website. She shares interesting tales of things she would dream happening to her which did not in fact happen, but she later came to the realization that she was dreaming of her other selves. But there was another partner in all of this. Someone once held the crystal as Penelope did. The CEO of Crystore until 2014, one Octavio Coleman Esquire. As it turns out, the Yuuyu Institute was but one of Octavio's children, and his partnership with Penelope was a tumultuous but productive one. The success of Crystore in the 1970s was apparently due to a crystal she had stolen, but had eventually returned it to its rightful owner. And now, here we are, the Crystore of 2020 with a new CEO, Wiley Herman Esquire. The same Wiley Herman who, you may recall, had a mysterious father. Putting these pieces together, or having been lucky enough to catch Grandview Boulevard at one of the showings, it's not hard to come to the conclusion that Wiley is in fact Coleman's son. Another associate of Coleman appears not long after the Pen and Banjo Institute stream. His spiritual advisor, an interdimensional psychic direwolf named Vladimir Coleman, or Vlad Dog on the Discord, becomes the main point of contact between the community and the wider goings-on surrounding Crystore and other Nonchalance-related activities. Taking the form of a friendly Siberian husky, he becomes beloved by the community. And as the story unfolds, we are introduced to Glad Dog, his Greenbridge equivalent to Vlad Dog's Red, and Blad Dog, the Bluebridge equivalent. And as we know, the Bluebridge is a little different. We also find out that the Redbridge incarnation of Vlad is a pet of another key player in this saga, the daughter of Wiley Herman, Skye. One key event that differs between Green and Redbridge that's noted by the site involves a young Skye either going down a slide at Fairyland, Greenbridge, or being too afraid to, Redbridge. Similar to Penelope, all versions of Skye seem to have some special connection to the other dimensions, but in particular, we find out just how different Bluebridge can be through Skye. The Bluebridge version of Skye is called Dr. Skye Verelse, a child genius who went on to develop many of Bluebridge's Crystore products, making it the effective leader of the Tri-Bridge collaboration effort. Sure enough, one of the pages on the Crystore website shows us a nice sampling of Crystore products, almost all of which seem to possess the initials CIBT. The aesthetic of these products is, unsurprisingly, quite strikingly similar to other Elsewhere tech we've seen, such as the various devices in the Dispatches from Elsewhere show. The CIBT we're going to want to take note of the most, however, and the one most often referred to, is the colorimetric interloping bridge translocator. This interdimensional portal gun allows for transference of people or objects to other dimensions. Two things to note here: the mention of the planet Zorch and the number 7192, apparently some form of sacred number that appears repeatedly in various documents and images throughout. Another thing to note is that Blue Skye seems determined to meet her grandfather. Coleman's role may not be done quite yet. Throughout Crystore, we see many mentions of a Father Coleman, spelled FTHR, who at one point is seen transferring an amount of $7,192 to his son to pay for the documentary he wants to have made about him. This ties into the film Grandview Boulevard, which will hopefully be available to the public in the next few weeks or months. Curiously, Father Coleman seems to have signatures from both Red and Green Bridges, and a third Father Coleman signature is found on Blue Bridge, under the guise of character actor Ira Bender. Am I saying that right? Upper management will correct me. Even more curious is that we find an interview saying that on Blue Bridge, Coleman is played, or perhaps channeled, according to Bender, by Richard F. Grant, an obvious reference to the Dispatches from Elsewhere TV show, here called Tales from Elsewhere. As it's stated, this is based on a true story, and the map declares the Yuuyu Institute as being Philadelphia-based, as in the show. It's entirely possible that this is the in-universe dimension for the TV show, or at least an adjacent one. And elsewhere on the site, we do see a diagram showing that dreams, media and reality can bleed from one bridge to another. And if the tolls is to be believed, there are a lot more dimensions than what we're seeing. One of these dimensions is causing a lot of headaches for the Tri-Bridge Initiative. On the 10th of June 2020, Dr. Skye detects a tear from an unknown source in the Sigma Quadrant region. This leak is revealed to be from the planet Zorch, which is assigned the Yellow Bridge moniker, despite apparently not being an Earth at all. Zorch also seems to be a dumping ground of sorts, where various characters end up being teleported. Spencer McCall, the director of the Institute, having been sent there by Octavio, thus prompting the spin-off Find Spencer site, and Vladimir, the nefarious Blue Bridge Vlad, who was sent there after the Discord managed to successfully distinct him from the true heroic Red Bridge Vlad. Zorch is a strange environment with creatures such as swamp Kirans, as seen in the Latitude and Inbred Axiom, and its own sinister mirror of Crystore, Crystorch. Crystorch seems to be in opposition to the Tri-Bridge Crystores, and particularly has it in for Father Coleman. They've teamed up with Lawyers with a Purpose in an attempt to solicit Crystore out of existence. And it's here where I'll start to wrap up this narrative, so you can go and check this out for yourselves. A few weeks ago, on June 19th, Dr. Skye of Blue Bridge makes a series of tweets about using the bridge transporter, noting that she has her grandpa's scrapbook and HCD biocrystal. This bridge transporter is a prototype, a much larger and more powerful version of the portal gun that was used to send Vladimir to Zorch. Hearing Vlad behind her, and seeing someone that she thinks must be her grandmother, in a place that looks a lot like Elsewhere, she steps through. Since then, she's been missing. In order to bring her home, the upper management of Blue Bridge Crystore, her parents Wiley and Alison Buscock, mobilised the Varel's Bridge Society, or VBS. We've been trying to bring her home ever since, and recently, we might have had some success. Thank you for watching this video. I thought there was a distinct absence of this wonderful dimension-hopping story on YouTube, and also that it appealed to fans of various ARGs, YouTube sci-fi drama series like Dad Feels, and anyone who's followed Elsewhere in the past. I'll post some links in the description so you can check out this ARG or experience for yourself. Really, there's so much I've missed in here, and this is one hell of a rabbit hole, even compared to previous iterations of Elsewhere. While not created by the originator of Elsewhere, it does a good job of tying together previous Nonchalance chapters in a really interesting way, and there's even lots of fun references to the TV show, like the chalky milk on the Crystore page. Poking around the site, you'll find a lot of interesting pages, some of which require passwords, or some of which may have been unlocked at this point in the game, like the containment or surveillance pages, so have at it and you might find some really cool weird things. Anyway, if you want to see more content about web series, ARGs and the like, let me know. I'll be doing a mix of that and the usual social issue thing, though media analysis is nothing new for this channel, so I like thinking of being a little bit consistent. Check out my previous video for a preview of what's coming soon, which was intended to be roughly in order, but I wanted to get this out roughly in time for the Inbright Axiom launch. So salams and good night from Sister Rose, and in Radiant Dictum.